Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat Five segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show.
Hello. My name is Ben Hilsinger, and welcome back to the Big Fat Snare Drum Podcast. Today's guest is Bryan de Leon, and we break down the top 5 drumming moments that help shape his playing style. Bryan's powerful, rigid, and syncopated drum parts are infectious to say the least, and it's the reason he drums for power hitters like Albert Hammond Jr. of The Strokes, The Drums, a very good band, The Shaking Hands, and many more. I'm currently on a road trip, and so I'm recording this from an Airbnb, a tiny closet inside an Airbnb actually, but this episode finally introduced me to New Order, and it's basically all I've been listening to on my trip. So thank you, Bryan, for that. Also, I need to mention, I almost edited out my initial question of asking Bryan how his pandemic was going. It's a lazy question, and I hated it the second it came out, but it ended up pulling a great response from Bryan and touched on some points I really wanted to keep in, so I kept it in. I just want you to know that I know. And alright, shutting up. Cheers. All right, I'm here with Bryan de Leon. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude, it's good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen anybody.
Yes. Good call. So how is how's the pandemic going for you, man?
At first, it was like completely miserable and terrifying. And it still is a little like terrifying, but it's been good. Like, I just like, at first I think I was just like, well, we just got to stay inside. So I just stayed inside. I'm still staying inside, but like, I just didn't do anything. I literally would like wake up and sit on my bed for like 14 hours and then lie down on my bed and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I live in an apartment. There's no drums here, so I didn't play drums for like a month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Oh my God, is that the longest you haven't played drums in your adult life?
Sure. No, I've gone way longer without playing, just like from being an idiot and like not practicing. But then once like I was like, okay, I got to do something, so I turned my rehearsal space into like a studio, and then since then I've just been like practicing constantly and like trying to do some remote sessions here and there, and that's been really like a really positive experience just to do something that's like productive and to do drumming, which is like good for the soul, and just to learn about it, because I had no idea about like microphones or where to put them or like anything. And then I just learned. Like, I just spent all that time learning, and now like I think it's coming along quite nicely, like good enough that like I've done a handful of like remote sessions now, and people haven't like roasted me for like how bad my drums sound.
Well, and you also close to the beginning of the pandemic, you got a push too, right? I saw that you...
Oh, well, yeah. Like, I was heavy making, like, just, like, producing stuff. I didn't know what it was. Like, maybe it would be new drum stuff, and I just got that push, so I wanted to teach. I got the push literally just because I knew it was a good way to start learning how to, like, chop drum breaks for, like, jungle and drum and bass and stuff like that, which is, I really love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I produced the last drums record, and on that record I play on it, and there's a lot of kind of like breakbeat type stuff.
Yeah.
But I played all of it because like while we were like writing the songs and like making the demos, we tried for like 2 straight days to like chop drum breaks, and we were just like, I guess we don't know how to do this. So I was like, I'll just play them. So like I really like how it came out, like just like literally playing a drum break, you know? Like I just like doing that in general, like playing things that would be like typically like electronic on the drum set. But so I got the push, and then I was like, okay, let me actually learn how to chop breaks. And now I think I'm pretty good at it. So I'll probably like release some sort of like completely unlistenable like 9-minute jungle track soon.
I'll listen to it. It'll be listenable by one person at least. So
Yeah.
no, that's inspiring too, because I love the drums record you're talking about is Brutalism, and it's an awesome record. I love it. And
Oh, thank you.
That's cool that you co-wrote and produced that record with not knowing how to do chops, not knowing about microphones, not knowing, I mean, pre all this stuff. So that's pretty. It's like you don't have to be a know-it-all.
I mean, it's fake it till you make it, right? Like I
Sure.
have whatever career I might have right now, I literally have built it on that. Just, you know, like, oh, you can't program a like jungle drum break. Well, just learn how to play one, and then I don't know, it'll sound different but cool.
Sure.
And then like I mean, I produced the record, but I didn't engineer it. Like I had no idea about any of that stuff.
Okay.
Like we made the demos with like literally just like a 57 over a Guitar Center, like the cheapest Guitar Center drum set we could buy. And then we took it into a real studio with like a real engineer, and then kind of like rebuilt the demos.
Did any of those 57 takes make it onto the final record in like a little chopped up way?
Yeah, some of them, yeah. Some of the like crappy 57 like sounds were like layered in or like used as like transitions, and then I demoed a lot of the songs on my OP1. Like some of the songs started as like my OP1 demos. So there's like a little bit of that in there too. And then a lot of the synths from our demos are just ended up being on the record, because that stuff is like, you know, we were competent enough to know not to record like things that are clipping. So that was usable.
That's a good thing to know. Although sometimes it's good to not know that as well, you know.
Yeah. Me and Johnny are like good at recording music and stuff, just not drums. We didn't know about anything about it. And now I do.
Which is funny because the band's called The Drums.
Oh, yeah. Well, Brutalism is the first drums record with real drums on it. Every record before that has just been drum machines, which is funny.
Well, it's a great record, and people should listen to it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And you're also in The Shaking Hands, which is a project that's, I guess, a little more, you're one of the founding members of it, right?
Yeah, it's like my band with my friends. That's definitely more of like a passion project. Like, it's just kind of like left of center weirdo rock music.
It's fun, and there actually are, I do want to get into the top 5, but there's a few specific Shaking Hands things that I wanted to kind of talk about as we go along, and I'm curious if,
sure.
you know, certain influences that you're going to discuss maybe tie into some of these songs. But let's just get into the first one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my first one, also like, maybe these aren't in any specific order, just other than like the order that I could think of them.
Sure.
But actually looking at it, maybe they are order of importance. Anyway, the first
Today.
one is...
Yeah.
The first one is In Bloom. Specifically because of the flams. I just love flams. I love them. And I just remember like that was one of the first songs I learned on the drums. And I just loved that it was like its own melody. And it just like when you're a kid, it's so fun to do that.
Yep.
It just feels so good in your hands, So yeah, I use flams like whenever I can, just for like a nice change of texture, or just it feels nice and powerful. I just freaking love flams. I can't explain it, and I also just love Dave Grohl. I probably would not have any sort of career without him, from just how much I rip him off.
I think it's a badge of honor to rip him off. Yeah.
Not that I'm not saying I'm anywhere near as good as Dave Grohl, but that's just my guy, is like from the ages of like 10 to now, it's just Dave for me.
As it should be. And you and me were talking before the show that you had listened to previous episodes, and we had a lot of similar choices. And I didn't choose Dave. Yeah, I didn't choose Dave Grohl because I knew that Chris was going to choose Dave Grohl for his. But yeah, it's crazy. All three episodes that we've done so far have basically what you've said, is that Dave's my dude, is the thing. And I would say that you and Gunnar and Brody, while still are in, the rock sensibility, three very different style of drummers. Mm-hmm. And it's insane. Dave's the man.
He's the man. You just like listen to his playing or like watching him, and you're just like, that's how you do it. Like that's all I can say, really. He has amazing instincts, and he like trusts them always. Like, who crashes on the beginning of every bar? Like, if I did that, I think I would make everybody else in the band mad, and I think I would feel kind of dumb. Like, I'd be like, this is kind of dumb, I shouldn't do that. But like, you don't think twice about it when you listen to Dave. It's just like, yeah, bud, get it. Crash on every bar. It sounds good.
Yeah. And it's not like he's like blending them in. It's like, oh, it's tasteful. No. It's like a nuance. It's like, no, he's like, hello.
Both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If there's a third one, he'd probably hit that too.
Yeah. And then the other thing about In Bloom was the single strokes right before the chorus hits. That was just such a benchmark when I was a kid. Like, once I was like, and I could do it like every time, I was just like, whoa, I think I'm getting good at drumming. Like, it was just such a like a benchmark. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff he did for me was that. It's like, one day I'm going to be able to do that thing. And then, a couple months later, just check it off the list.
Have you gotten a chance to meet Dave through any of the festivals you played?
No, I'm really scared about like meeting my heroes.
Sure.
And I remember I used to be in this band called Talking Tongues. Mm-hmm. It's like, that was like my band, and we made a record at Sound City. Excuse me. We made a record at Sound City, and the guy that owned the stew and like ran it, he was really good friends with Dave.
Okay.
And I was one day he texted me, he's like, what are you up to? And I was like, oh, like I was visiting my dad in Palm Springs. And he's like, oh, dang it, dude, like I'm heading to like Dave's, I don't know, his kid's birthday or something. He's like, I was gonna bring you with me. And I was like, oh, dang, I can't go, like I'm in the desert. But I even if I was home, I feel like I would have been like, oh, sorry, I got to do my taxes or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Dave would be one of those. It's tough.
That being said, I have literally only ever heard such nice things about him. It's like everyone just says he's a sweetheart. But yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. I think there were other times in that, if I remember correctly, that was a while ago. I was like 18 or 19. He lived near Sound City, or he had a studio near Sound City, and that guy, the owner of the studio, would be like, oh, like, I need to borrow this thing from Dave, like, do you want to come with me to like pick it up? And I would just be like, no, I'm good. I shouldn't.
Aggressively not. No.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right, well, again, I can talk about Dave all day, but yeah, let's go to number 2.
Okay, number 2 is Whatever Happened by The Strokes. The intro, and the intro specifically.
All right, we'll drop in that right now. actually the most Dave Grohl beat I've heard him play. just with no. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, exactly. Then it's Queens of Stone Age, and it's
yeah. It's like next is Them Crooked Vultures, and then Queens of the Stone Age, and then the one time Dave Grohl played live with whoever at the Grammys,
and then it's just audio of Dave Grohl walking down the street. I like his
my
tempo.
number 5 pick is the Fresh Pots video. That's a huge influence on my drumming. When he goes, shake-a-dick-a-dick-a-dick-a-dick.
Okay, so whatever happened by the Strokes, yeah.
For me, it's just that like kick pattern that like is just on it's not on the downbeat, like except for at the top. I kind of love stuff like that. That's just a little like super syncopated, but it's not like mathy, like it's still like groovy. The one thing about it though is like learning it, that's got to be tight. Like it's so easy for that to sound bad.
Yeah.
And it's at that like perfect like awkward tempo where it's like it's not really slow, but it's not quite like even medium,
Sure.
So it's just like it was just like really good to learn. And I mean that whole album, honestly, that was the first album I ever bought with my own money. That was just such a big album for me. And then I just learning that, and I love that like offbeat kick pattern. It's just cool. It's just really
and there's
cool.
the going to how hard that would be to play. It's also he's just doing quarter notes on the hi-hat, so he's not like giving himself the internal syncopation to like that bass drum has to be confident and know what the hell it's doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be tight. And then also to go with that album and just Fab in general, he's another one of my favorite drummers. I just love, like, he's so minimal, and it's so just like he's the perfect drummer for the Strokes. And I just love that like straight ahead like Strokes feel is like that's like my favorite, like just keeping those eighth notes going. And like, but another like big influential thing from that record is Reptilia. That song is like a perfect example of like just that driving eighth notes like Strokes feel. But the big thing for me was when I first saw the music video when I was a kid, within the first like 30 seconds, there's close-up shots of all the members of the band. So there's like a shot of Jules holding his mic, like Albert turning his like knobs up on his guitar, and then the close-up of Fab is him keeping time in that beginning part, the do-ka, do-ka, by playing on his knee. So he's like keeping the time on his knee. And I remember when I saw that when I was a kid, I was just like, that's allowed? Like what? like you can do that?
Sure.
And then so I just started doing it, because it really helps. I still do it. Like if I'm not keeping time, like if I'm just doing a kick snare thing, I always keep time on my leg. It just helped so much when I was a kid, and I also just thought it looked cool. I just was like, I agree. That's cool.
But that also goes back to the other song, is that's why he has to be a really good drummer, because with those bass drums, he's not. I mean, if he wasn't doing that hi-hat, he'd probably be doing eighth notes with his hand to keep that bass drum. Yeah. But the fact that he can't makes you respect that beat even more. I definitely hear when you were talking about syncopated drum beats without being mathy. There's on Brutalism. There's definitely a bunch of those cool drum intros that in no way are ripping off the Strokes, but have that kind of cool syncopation that people should check out as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just so nice to like. I mean, I love a solid backbeat, but like, it's just like fun to like try and like think outside the box and not have it like serviceable, like it's the beat in Whatever Happened, like it's so cool, it's so like, I think it's really creative, but it's not like it's not him like making his mark on the song. I feel like a lot of people make that mistake when they're like writing in a band. It's like, okay, but what's like gonna be my thing in the song, like. And I really love that about Fab's drumming. He's just like, he is the drummer of the Strokes. Like he contributes, like I think that he contributes just as much as like every other member. I kind of think like I'm 27. If you're like in your 20s, 30s, like I think the Strokes are like my Beatles, like for like my generation. Like it's like it's like Jules, Nick, Nikolai, Albert, and Fab, and like they're all like integral to the Strokes. I'm a big Strokes fan.
I will say I was actually recording something last week that had that similar vibe where the hi-hat is just one dynamic the whole time, like you're not doing the molar or push-pull, however you describe it. That is, dude, by like a second 30, that is one of the most exhausting things to do, is just to play a 3.5 minute driving drum beat. That's
I love
biggest workout in the world. How crazy was it to go from, because I'm not sure if people know, but I said in the beginning, Albert Hammond Jr., you play with him, knowing that you're such a fan of them. How nerve-wracking was it to play drums for Albert, knowing that he's played with one of the best drummers that does it?
It's still nerve-wracking. I mean, I don't know if he'll listen to this. If he does, like, whatever, cat's out of the bag. But like,
we love you, Albert.
That guy like changed my life through his like music. Like Albert Hammond Jr., like the Strokes are like a very important band to me. So like, it's just kind of crazy to be like, that guy's like my boss now and my friend. Like, he's such a cool dude. Like we hang out sometimes. Like he's not just like the lead singer of a band that pays me.
Sure.
But it is crazy. I remember the first show I played with them. I'm like halfway through the first song, and that's when it kind of hit me. Like I was just kind of like looking like straight ahead of me at his back, and I was just like, that's Albert Hammond Jr. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I played, sometimes you play like a show where the whole time you're just like, don't mess up. You could mess up any second and it's all over. I played one of those shows after that. But it is crazy. It really is crazy. But it's awesome. And he's such a nice guy. He's the exception to like, don't meet your heroes rule. Like, he's the sweetest, coolest dude, and great guitar player.
Yeah, the thing I love about him is he seems so humble too. I mean, I don't think in almost every interview he's kind of alluded to the fact he's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just know what I think sounds cool, and I don't, he never claims to be technically proficient, but his guitar parts are so iconic. I mean, so iconic, and he is humble. Like like playing in his band, I feel like his like what's the word? Colleague. That's the word. Playing in his band, I feel like his colleague. Like it's not like him being like, hey kid, like the drum beat you're supposed to play is this, or like the feel. I know that you're maybe not there yet, but the feel is more that, like, it's so easy for like older guys to do that to you. No offense to whoever takes offense to that, but he's, it's really rad being in a band with him. And it is, you're right, like it is I'd be lying if there wasn't a little bit of that, like, this guy plays with Fab, like he like I've not that and not that Albert's music is the Strokes, because it's not. Sure. It's different, but Fab's a good drummer, and Albert is in a band with him, so it's good for the old like imposter syndrome to be like, well, like, I could make it happen in Albert's band and he seems pretty pleased with me, so like, what, maybe that's good. Like, I value his opinion because of who he plays with. I think that's a great perspective, and you should definitely remind yourself if you ever have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So I remember I saw, and I'm going to kind of butcher this question knowingly, but so I saw you back, I think it was maybe June or July of last year at Non Plus Ultra with the Shaking Hands.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I was listening to your record the last few days, and I was trying to find this song, and maybe it was a cover, I'm not sure. But there was an intro beat that you did, and the reason why I say this is I love songs that there's a drum intro that then never happens again. And there was a beat that you did that I remember stuck out to me so much. It was like, and I'm going to butcher this, but it was like boom, tat, boom, tat, boom, tat, digga, digga, da on the toms, and then you start the song. It was such a cool like way to start a song, and I was curious if that was pulled from something or if there's a reason why you did that.
I think you're talking about this song called Slab, which will be on our new record that we're recording right now. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm doing on the rim of the hi-hat. I'm going boom boom. I just do a little.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. On the tom, I go boom boom, and then it goes into it. And yeah, I never do it again in the song. And I mean, it's definitely a Strokes thing.
Oh, really?
I'm definitely just going straight. Yeah.
It's so cool though, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, that one's really fun. Yeah, that'll be on the new record. We have a record called Freeways, which we like half did ourselves, and I think it like shows when you listen to it. Like there's some kind of like bizarre drum sounds on there from just us.
I think it sounds rad, man.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, like some of it was like we like bought studio time and someone recorded the drums for us. And then I think there were just moments where we were like, oh, dang it, like the snare doesn't actually sound that good. Or like we don't like how that snare sounded, so we just like sample replaced it. And it's like super obvious. But I think it like ends up kind of like being a thing. Like
it's definitely a thing.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, I look forward to that song because it's just funny that growing up with, all my influences and then I don't mean this to come across condescending, but like a drum beat like that's just kind of a little more just straightforward. That's the stuff that I remember a year later as something that like stood out to me. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, dude. Same. I'm the same way.
All right. So number 3.
Number 3 is Buzzcocks, Ever Fallen in Love.
Okay.
The intro, specifically the like B section of the intro, which is also just the verse again.
Love it.
Yeah. I just love that tom thing.
Yeah.
And it again, it's like a melody, like it's like the first half of the thing is the like really straight ahead beat, and then the second half is that boom 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 boom, that tom thing in the beat. I love using a little tom here and there, like in your beat.
Well, hey, that was kind of a great segue from the first thing I said. So.
Yeah. I love using a little tom in the beat. Again, like going back to when I was a kid, I feel like maybe I haven't progressed so much since like learning drums as a child. But like, like these things kind of just like stick with you, They're like
Don't lose that, man. Don't lose that.
Yeah. And I think it was a big kind of like light bulb moment for me when I was like, you can use the toms in the beat too. Like it doesn't just have to be a fill, Buzzcocks, that song is just like a song I liked when I was a kid. It's just like a cool like punk song. And that drummer is also super good. I kind of like feel like he's a little bit like a soul drummer. Like a lot of his beats are like really fast. Like he's opening the hi-hats and lots of ghost notes. Like it almost sounds like punk, like James Brown drumming or something.
I love that.
Which I really love. I love how like frantic it is. It's so cool. And I love displacing like snare drums. I love when you're the Stuart Copeland thing where it's you're like, you think it's one thing, and then when the guitars come in, you're like, oh wait, that's not what I thought it was at all, like
sure.
That whole thing. Here's the thing, I was never a big Police fan. Stuart Copeland was just like not a guy that I was like into growing up. Like obviously now I can recognize his like genius, and like, I mean, he like totally changed the way everyone thinks about the instrument, but it's just like as a kid didn't really connect with me. So I bet I would maybe guess there was like a part of him that was like, this is a little bit of a Police thing, Maybe not. Have to look at the year of the song. But yeah, I like the Stuart Copeland thing, but I don't really know that many like Police songs. Like
growing up, I think with my dad and his like 50s, 60s vibe, and then me being a kid and getting more in the 90s, 2000s, I think a lot of those like late 70s, early 80s drummers just kind of went over my head until I was older, just with, who was introduced to me.
Yeah.
Besides Tommy Lee. I mean, Tommy Lee was there from the beginning, but
Oh yeah, he's sick. I love a good cymbal catch.
Oh, absolutely. But with displacing beats too, it's fun because it's kind of like the System of a Down effect, where like if you introduce chaos, when you bring it back to a little more of a cookie cutter hook, it makes it so much better.
It's so effective. It's such an effective way to like build tension and like release it without having to like, honestly, without having to like do too much or like, you know, it's not chops. Like it's just like a decision, you know. It's like, and I love that. And yeah, that's like that drum beat, the like Ever Fallen in Love beat with the tom, like I feel like that's like something I just play as soon as I set up a drum kit. Like it's just constantly playing in my head. And even just that kind of like I kind of have to like stop myself from doing it a lot. That like 2-part phrase thing in a drum beat, it's just like kind of like really ingrained in me. And
I'm sure Dave Grohl reinforced that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I do have to stop myself and be like, dude, it doesn't have to be like a thing. Like you can just play a beat for one part and play another beat for another part. Like not everything needs to be like, but it is cool. That song is really sick. And that thing that he does is really cool. He does stuff like that a lot too in a bunch of other songs.
That would be a good sound check beat because it kind of gets the cymbals, it gets everything.
Yeah, you get everything. Yeah, exactly. You always got to have like your sound check beats always got to be like the one where it's like, okay, well this works for them. And then you got to do like the one that like the sound guy, like the house crew is going to be like, oh, you know that song?
Sure. Yeah. It's a little low key flex for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So yeah, number 4, man.
Number 4 is Age of Consent by New Order.
Any particular spot?
Just right when the drums come in at the intro.
That's a sick drum beat.
It is, yeah. I just love like 16th note hi-hat stuff. Like I love that busy hi-hat. Oh, the other thing in that song is there's 2 things in that song that are real that I want to talk about. But I love that hi-hat pattern. And I love that it's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain because it's not tight. Like it's not like a disco beat, you know, but it is like you still dance to it. Like I could like New Order, like that's like it's dance music, you know. Yeah. That's another just a big band for me because it's like a band with like these like sensibilities of like electronic music and dance music, and yeah, it's just so cool. I love when sometimes he'll go like it's just so cool, and that's a big like vibe for like the drums. Like a lot of the band, the drums. Yeah. There's a lot of the drum songs are kind of like that vibe, and yeah, it's just like the perfect like kind of like dancey punk feel, and I'm just like I said, I'm just a sucker for like a 16th note hi-hat thing. It's fun, and it's fun to play. It feels so good to play that for me.
Yeah. No, and it's also fun to, you know, intertwine certain bass drum patterns with the hi-hat and kind of having fun, a little, you know, fun little romantic relationship between those two. But sometimes the bass drum just needs to hold it down, and all you need to do is just a little bit of a syncopation on the hi-hat, and it's just like perfect.
Yeah, man, that 4 on the floor, like I forgot who told me this once, but like someone was telling me, I think it was like a teacher of mine, and he was just saying like, you know, like the drums are like an instrument where like you get direct results, you know, like you can see the effects in real time. If people are moving, if they're dancing, like you're accomplishing your task, you know. And it's just crazy that like a 4 on the floor can do that. And a lot of times like that's what it should be. Like a lot of times like I feel like when people think like, not that this is like funky, but it is like dancey. But I think a lot of people have the tendency to be like, ooh, like if people are gonna dance, it's got to be like it's got to be like a crazy like kick drum thing.
Sure.
But no, man, that's the shit. Okay. That drum beat.
Yeah, it's funny because I always try and think of a different pattern besides a 4 on the floor, when sometimes, and more often than not, it's like, don't try, like maybe do something else somewhere else, but I'm so adverse to it sometimes. But
yeah, well, and with that beat, it's the thing that like grounds it, because he's just going so crazy with his hands, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other thing in that song is right before, I'm pretty sure it's right before the chorus. Oh no, it's at the end of the chorus, I think. My favorite fill, which is bop, bop, bop. Man, that's Old Faithful. That I know it sounds so dumb to probably like people like drummers, but God, that's just like so effective, at least for like rock or like indie rock music, to just bop bop bop. I don't know, it just works. You could just do it on the snare, or if you really wanna, you could do it with the floor tom with it. I don't know.
Whoa, getting crazy.
It's a good fill, serviceable, you know.
Yeah.
It's the working man's fill.
So I did want to talk, speaking of hi-hats, the song White Horse by Shaking Hands. The reason why I wanted to bring it up was that's electronic drums, right? That's for the most part. Yeah. And so it doesn't sound like the part is quantized, or if it is, it's looped in a certain way that it feels really loose. And I really like that feel. That almost feels like it's going to fall apart, but it never does. And what sparked you to do that? I mean, I'm sure you can think of a million things, but it really stuck out to me. I love that beat with the hi-hat and the bass drum and everything, you know, juxtaposing.
Yeah. To be quite honest with you, I didn't have anything to do with that song.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you what I'm fairly certain is the case.
Okay.
Is the guys probably sequenced that drum pattern in different like takes. Like I don't think they had a drum machine, and they weren't like programming on they weren't programming on Ableton, and they didn't have a drum machine that either didn't have multiple outs, or they just didn't know how to do it. So what would happen, what I'm fairly certain happened is it's time to record the kick drum. 1, 2, 3, play the kick drum. And then it's time to record the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, And so those are all going to be a little off, you know? And then you get that thing where it's like, they are electronic drums, but they're not like on the grid, you know?
It's so cool. I mean, I love that feel. It's not like the whole drunken, like, you know, Jay Dilla thing, but it kind of has also that, just kind of stumbling.
It has that. It weirdly has like a human imperfection, and you could argue it is human imperfection because you can't press play exactly on the downbeat. Yeah.
Tony Royster Jr. probably could, but anyone else, I think.
Oh yeah, he could. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I should have said I can't.
Yeah. Well, I'm a human with you on that. So number 5, man.
All right, number 5. Here we go. It's Lars.
As it should
be.
And
I just want to say, it was always going to be Lars. I know that Gunnar did Lars. Yeah. And I really respect that about Gunnar, is that he's like a Lars apologist. He backs Lars, and so do I. Lars is top 5 for me, and I'm not even just trying to be like a joker.
Sure.
I just know a lot of people like are like up their own ass about Lars.
Which I know I just don't know why. I get that there's a lot of like videos of him screwing up, but man, if there was a collage of all the times I haven't played a show, it'd be way worse than Lars.
There, like, people hate on Lars because he's not that good. But, like, here's my thing. One, he's wildly creative. Like, his parts are just so cool, like, so creative. Two, like, Metallica, like, that band is, like, his vision, basically. So, like, I mean, that has nothing to do with drumming, but that's just, like, cool. And, like I said, like, it's rad that he's not, like I said this to you the other day, like, it gets so boring, like, just worshiping, like, gods all the time, you know? And I've always been like that. Like, I grew up, like, I grew up and, like, as a kid, I was obviously just listening to, like, Led Zeppelin or whatever my dad showed me. But, like, the minute I heard, like, the Ramones or, like, the Strokes or something, and I was like, wait, like, I can do that. Like, that has way more appeal to me, you know? Like, I remember, like, I play it, like, there's this band that I really love called Youth of Today. It's, like, one of my favorite, like, hardcore bands. And I remember I played one of their tracks for my friend once, and I'll never forget, he was like, oh, like, it sounds so, like, sloppy, and, like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like they can really, like, play. And I just remember, like, yeah, that's why I like it. Like,
yeah, I know,
because I can do that. Like,
yeah,
and, you know, like, there's just, for me, it's always just been about, like, participation. So, like, it's so rad to hear, like, someone who's just wildly, like, you know, like Neil Peart or, like, Steve Gadd or something, you know, like, no one will ever be able to play like Steve Gadd. Like, that's just high proficiency. It's amazing listening to that.
Sure.
But, like, for me, like, it's always been about, like, participation. Like, I've always just been so juiced on, like, hearing something and then being like, I think I can do that, and then going to do it, you know? Mm-hmm. And Lars is the metal drummer that is that. Like, his parts are fast. It's really fast. So that, I mean, but that's just, like, exercise.
Yeah.
But, like, for the most part, like, you could play it. If you really want to, you can play it. So I've always loved that. I've always loved that he was just kind of like I don't know, like, it's cool that he's, like, not that good.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what the argument is that he's not that good, like, I would argue that's cool. I like that, you know?
Well, and also you were going back to creativity. It's like I had mentioned this when we were texting, like, when I hear someone who's technically proficient, it's like, oh, cool, you've said no to a lot of party invites and you've spent a lot of time in your room. That's great. Mad respect. But the person that can just think of that perfect part for that next part, I'm like, that person's lived, that person's listened to a lot of cool music. Their influence is, like, what are they pulling from? That art, the art of that is so much more interesting to me than, like, is that a right, left, right, kick, left, right? Like, I don't, right. It's like, cool, you know,
yeah,
but it's
exactly.
Like, oh, he went to the tom.
Yeah. So what Lars does a lot, he does it a lot. That was huge for me. And I still try to, like, I kind of do it too. He'll take his fills, and he's far from, like, the only guy that does this, but he'll take his fills over the bar and then crash on two.
Yep.
And I love it. I love it every time I hear it. It feels cool. Like, when you do it and it hits, it feels so cool. Like, you're just like, I'm the man, you know? Like,
yeah.
So I guess specifically my selection is just the chorus of Master of Puppets.
Okay. Gosh, dude, that I referenced it when we were listening to it, but that album cover is so so cool. So like, the iconic. Metallica, the strings to the gravestones are attached to the Metallica logo. It's like, check out the cover for this, guys, if you don't know. It's so iconic.
Like, it's no wonder they sold 90 million records. I would want that if I had no idea what it was, you know? Like, it's just like, what's that? Who cares? I'm buying it.
Yeah.
You know, like, Metallica is just also like, that's just like a good band. Like, I remember, like, my girlfriend, like, isn't really into, like, metal or, like, any sort of, like, heavy music. And I remember she, like, came into the car once, and I was, like, just, like, listening to Metallica. And I was like, I just changed it. And she's like, what were you listening to? And I was like, oh, Metallica. And she's like, damn, it sounded sick. I was
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. Like, and just everyone knows. Like, you just hear Metallica, and you're like, oh, right, that's right. That's right. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so just, you know, he goes,
Yeah.
it's so good. He also does it on battery. And in battery, it's really fast. It's something like boom, 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 pow. It's like something like that. I probably just butchered it, but taking your fill over the bar and crashing on two, I love it. And I love Lars, and he is, yeah, just so creative and just so, like, yeah, I think he's very musical.
I would say my
And I
favorite.
just-
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I just love that he's like a big personality. Like,
A little bit of one, yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I like that. That's fun, you know? Like, he's not hurting anyone by, like, kind of being a douche. Have you seen that Metallica documentary, Some Kind of Monster?
Oh yeah.
There's like when he's like lying down in front of his like gigantic Basquiat painting,
Yep.
and he like explains what art is. He's like, you know, like what? How does he know when he's done with the red and decides to put a little gold over here? You know, like these are the things. And then he like auctions off all his Basquiat paintings for like $5 million each. It's
Yeah.
like what? Like, oh my, this guy, you know. But it's fun. Like, he's like a, I don't know. I kind of like a big personality like that. Why shouldn't he have a big personality? He's in Metallica.
Well, that's it right there. But it's like even him talking about, even if in a douchey way of him explaining art, that's his mind. And you can be like, okay, well, he obviously writes drum parts. So like that thing that people might think is grandiose, he obviously, that's how he crafts his drum parts from that kind of perspective. So you can still take something from that.
Yeah.
And I would say this is not the song, but Fuel is probably one of, I still probably once every month I'll put that song on, and it's the funnest song to play drums to because it has halftime. It's great.
That song is badass.
I
That's all
agree.
I got to say there.
Are there any honorable mentions you want to bring up?
I have two.
Please do. Yes.
Is that crazy?
Dude, I've said this every single time. We were gonna loosely call it the Big Fat Five for like alliteration, but every single person has had more than five. So like, who cares? Give us 15 more, man.
I just wanted to do. This is another fill that I just rip off a lot.
Sure.
It's Hanging on the Telephone by The Nerves. It happens specifically at 118, but you can start listening at like 110.
Don't leave me hanging on the telephone. I have to interrupt Simon's conversation. Your voice across the line gives me a strange sensation.
I just do that a lot.
Take it at.
It's just cool. That's like when it hits. Oh, sorry. When it hits in the song right there, it feels so good. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's cool. That song is so cool. And he does it at the intro too, but it's just that specific thing, like choosing to do it there in that break. It's so simple, again, but it's so cool. And yeah, it's just fun. I guess that's just my honorable the honorable mention is that I literally just do that sometimes. Something a little embarrassing about that song though is that it's the hold music at Bedrock.
Oh, really?
When they put you on hold, they play that song. Okay, and then last one. The last one is 100% by Sonic Youth.
Oh yeah.
It happens at the end of the second chorus, 140 to 155.
Okay. That's so sick.
It's just so cool. Like, that's just one of those songs where, like, it's just like you listen to it in your car and you're like, I'm a real cool guy. Like, what I like about it is, what I like about it is, it's just a change in texture. Like, it's it's not a fill. He's literally, and he doesn't even fill into it, crash into it, or crash out of it. He literally just goes from the chorus, like, build up thing to the and then straight to the hi-hat. Yeah. And it's so effective, and I really love that. Like, that's all you need sometimes, is just not even a fill. Just change the texture and it, like, does what you need it to do,
So confident.
Oh my God, it's that little drum break is so simple, but it just feels like it's just so, like, tough. Like, it's just so, like, do not even, like, look at me. Like, it's so I just love it. It's just like really, like, it's so cool.
With Birthday by the Beatles, there's that break where I almost said Travis, where Ringo just da 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 for like 16 bars or something. It's just like, and he ends with da 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 bow. But it's like, I remember as a kid, that was a drum solo to me. And I remember, like, when we were on my dad's, like, construction site, I would look forward to that part of the song and just, like, be so in, like, how does he do that?
Yeah, it's just confidence. It really is confidence. Like, that really comes through, like, in your playing, like, if you're just, like, playing it confident, like, that makes the difference between, like, someone who's not maybe sure of it or scared to take the swing, like, scared to be like, all it is this, and then all it is this,
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm feeling when I'm saying, like, it sounds so, like, tough. Like, it sounds so, like, because that's what it is. It's just confidence.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say. The change of texture, the simplicity, it's
well, I love it too.
so
and,
good.
and to go back to your production on the drums too, I can definitely a lot of the intros and stuff just have a cool different texture, and then you go to the main beat, which is a similar beat, but it's just, a little more produced and in your face as opposed to the intro. And it's cool, man.
Yeah, I'll say, like, on the drums record, I was thinking about this too. I just couldn't really find, like, an example. But something I'd like to think about when, like, playing drums or, like, producing drums more specifically is, like, a lot of, like, textures for sure. Like, sometimes all you need is a change in texture. You don't even need a fill. You don't even need to change the drum beat. Talking Heads do it all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what you can do is just, like, trust the percussion, like let percussion do that, which is like, this is, like, more of a producing thing. But, like, I love to just, like, keep a beat going, and it's like, okay, well, it's the same beat in the chorus, but now it's got, like, a tambourine and, like, a, like, wood block over it, and like, that registers as new to the brain, like, it's a different thing, but it's kind of just the same thing.
Dude, tambourine is, I know some people hate it and think it's a little dated. I think it's one of the most timeless things in the world. It is
it's the best instrument. It's probably better than drums. It's the best instrument.
That we could just end right there. Yeah.
I'll do a little plug. I play tambourine in my friend's band, Storefront Church. My friend Lucas is the singer of a band called Storefront Church.
Okay.
He writes all the songs, and I play tambourine in that band. That's all I do, because it's super important, and it's a lot of fun, and it's the best instrument.
No, yeah, I don't remember the name, but it was one of my drum students. I went to see one of her live shows, and the band that her band opened up for had a live tambourinist. You know,
Was it was it Bryan Jonestown Massacre?
No. It wasn't. It was still a local band, and it was at the Highland Park Bowl.
What if it was me? What if you're talking about Storefront Church and that was me up there? I've had a bunch of different haircuts, dude.
He actually looked very similar to me. It was like a Jesus vibe.
Very cool.
And he was on something that was probably very good and for him. And
That makes for good tambourine playing.
Well,
That's
he was
just good
so-
tambourine playing.
I agree. I mean, he was so into it, and it was just like, you don't think, and maybe this is just me being naive, you don't think that nowadays there needs to be like, you're just the tambourinist live. But if he wasn't there, that would have been a totally different show. It was so cool.
It matters. And something else I'll say about tambourine is this. A lot of people, I feel like, want to think that, like, it's the instrument anyone can play, you know? Like,
Oh, no.
hey, like, you know, like, your little brother is coming to the show. Get him on stage. He'll play the tambourine. Don't do it. He will mess up the song. It's a hard instrument. Best instrument, hands down. Don't at me.
I love that we came to this. This is a good way to bookend everything. All right, Bryan. Well, I know that you are also available for if people want to hire you to play. You know, like you were talking about, to be on their recordings. You also are available for touring when that starts up. So how can people get a hold of you?
Just hit me up on Instagram. It's Bryan Rules, Bryan Rules with a Z, RULEZ.
What is the back? I mean, it's obviously the coolest Instagram handle ever, but like, was that a joke or what was that?
I got Instagram a really long time ago. Like I was pretty early on Instagram, so I was just 18.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah,
It's been around a while.
I had it. Bryan Rules was the first thing I could think of, and I just haven't changed it. I don't know.
I mean, it's factual as well, so.
That's the thing. It's like, should I change it? Is it kind of just like douchey?
No.
But I think it's kind of funny, and I did want to change it to Bryan's Rules, which is like kind of sick because there's like a Black Flag song called My Rules.
Okay.
And that's just sick. But Bryan's Rules phonetically isn't as good, and it doesn't look good in the so I just put Bryan Rules. People know it by now that it's Bryan Rules with a Z. It's whatever. It's Bryan Rules with a Z. That's my Instagram. I'll say this about my Instagram. I haven't posted any content in a while.
Yeah.
Just because I've been getting my stew set up and stuff like that, but I'll probably be posting some videos soon. And yeah, but there's some vids of me up there. If you like what you see, I'm available for sessions and touring.
I love it, dude. All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, dude. Oh, wait, you're done. We're done now. We're done recording.
Now we are. Okay, there we are. That's the show. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at bigfatsnaredrum. The audio you're hearing was edited with Isotope RX Audio Editor. It's magic. So go check that out at isotope.com. This podcast would take me so much longer to edit if it wasn't for the Waves Vocal Writer plugin. It rides the fader in real time and keeps both my and my guest audio at a consistent level without the need to overcompress. I also use an endless amount of their plugins for my musical recordings, such as Abbey Road Saturator, CLA Drums, the SSL channel. Check them out at waves.com. Cheers.